today's webinar, we are small ship cruising in Greenland and Spitsbergen. So for those of you who, of course, don't know us, which I know most of you do, we are a small ship cruise specialist, and we are New Zealand owned and operated, and we deal directly with all operators around the world. So anywhere you'd like to travel, we have contacts who will send you to the right place on the right ship. And then we do bring you the world's best small ship options, from expedition through to luxury. So depending what you or your clients are after, we can help you. And we have small ships from 8 passengers in the Amazon up to 250 passengers really in the Arctic or in the Mediterranean. We have a mixture of expedition or luxury style, and a lot of our ships offer cultural experiences and that history element from around the world as well. We have photography themed voyages, and also you know, we have naturalists on board, and they also have their own kind of take on each area because they've been there before. So you do get lectures on board all our ships as well in the evenings usually. So we'll just quick overview from us on Greenland. It is the world's largest island. It is known for its inspiring landscape, massive icebergs, glaciers, and rugged mountains. And there's a lot of history as well in Greenland. So that part of it is quite interesting for our clients as well. And then Spitsbergen, which is also known as Svalbard, Svalbard's the archipelago, and Spitsbergen is the largest island within there. We have a lot of people interested in that area. It is the Northern Arctic, so it's quite a unique area, which people like to get off to as well. And then on to our partner who we're introducing today. Oops. So I will let Matteo take over from here. He knows, he's probably a bit better than me, and we will share screen with you in a moment. Just bear with us.
First, let me present myself. Sorry for my English, I will do my best. I'm Mathieu Ramus, so I'm the marketing director of Grands Espaces, but I'm also a polar guide, mostly in the Arctic region in Spitsbergen and Greenland. So I'm here today to speak to you about this amazing region that I really love. And for Grands Espaces, it's quite a long story about the Arctic also, because we have been traveling in this region during around 25 years. And I think we share quite the same philosophy with our small ships because they allow us more flexibility, and we really have this philosophy of discovering this wide place and to go to share our passion to these natural places. So we have been founded by a scientist, which name is Christian Kempf, and he has been exploring this region during more than 50 years. And actually, at the moment, he's in Svalbard as an expedition leader on our ship Ocean Nova. So let's enter in the matter of the Arctic. I will do a small introduction about the region. So firstly, it's important to have a big difference between the Arctic and the Antarctic. The Arctic is in the north, it's an ocean, and Antarctica is the continent. And we are traveling this region, mostly in Greenland, in Spitsbergen. In the past, we've been also in Arctic Russia, in the Russian Arctic, and in North Canada. Obviously, at the moment, we don't go anymore in the Russian Arctic, but we still go to Greenland, West Greenland, East Greenland, and also in the North Canada and Spitsbergen. So what kind of landscapes can we expect in these regions? So in Spitsbergen, we'll have not that huge mountains, because the biggest mountain is in Spitsbergen. It's around 177 meters, but with pointy peak. That's why it's called Spitsbergen, actually, because when Willem Barents discovered Spitsbergen in 1596, he discovered Bad North, and he found these pointy mountains, and he named it Spitsbergen because in German it's Spitz, pointy mountains. In Greenland, it will be much higher mountains because in average it's 200 and 500 meters, a lot of ice, and also big fjords, and also big icebergs. And generally, when we think about the Arctic, we think about something like the Antarctic also, with a lot of ice, a lot of snow everywhere. But actually, it's quite different, because the Arctic is a desert, mostly. Spitsbergen it is. And we have mostly of this kind of landscape that we have on this picture. This picture has been taken in July, so we have a lot of tundra like this. But at the end of the photo, behind the sea, you have mountains and also a lot of glacier that are dropping in the water. And that's the kind of landscape we have in July. So this glacier that we are going to see during our trips in Spitsbergen. In Greenland, we have a big difference also. We have villages, mostly in the west coast, because the east coast has very few villages, but west coast, this is a place where the big cities are. When I say big city, is not that big, because the biggest city in Greenland is around 10,000 people, because the whole Greenland, that is the biggest island in the world, is only 40,000 people. Svalbard, in the opposite, never has been colonized. So there is no settlement like that. There is no villages. There is Longyearbyen, but it has been installed much later. That's also the kind of landscape we can have in Greenland. So big iceberg, they are the biggest iceberg in the North Hemisphere. The only place in the world you can have biggest iceberg will be in the Antarctic. So in the middle of this iceberg, you have the Ocean Nova, one of the ships that we use, that is actually at the moment in Spitsbergen. Ice pack, obviously, we always try, and we always go to the ice pack. And I will show you some ice charts to explain you this region. So when to explore Spitsbergen or Greenland? So this is Spitsbergen, like you said before. Well, we say Spitsbergen, it's the main island, the west island, the biggest one. But it is Svalbard, the Svalbard Archipelago, with all these islands. So the northeast island, sorry, with a big ice cap, ice sheet of actually an average of 300 or 400 meters, and that will drop in an ice wall of 160 kilometers. So it's a beautiful place, and the rest of it, a lot of island. So that's the ice sheet of March 2023, so recently. So you can see the red here is the ice that we cannot cross, we cannot go in it. So well, firstly, we cannot go to the Arctic before March or February, because it's almost only night, and like in the Antarctica, it's the opposite. We go over there from March to September for let's say for the reason that it's night during the winter in the North Hemisphere, but also because of the ice. Like you see here, you have Greenland. All the East Greenland in March is totally closed. We cannot access. Even West Greenland is the same thing. In Spitsbergen, you have the East Coast that is totally closed, and West Coast that is quite open because of the Gulf Stream current. But it's quite cold, still cold, because at that moment of the year, it's still around minus 50 Celsius degrees. When we go a little bit further, I think this ice chart, I can see, but I think it's April, just a little bit after. So you see that the North Coast is beginning to be a little bit more open, but it's quite inaccessible. What is really interesting at that moment of the year is that kind of landscape, because you have a lot of snow, a lot of fjord ice, and that's beautiful. That's really the Arctic that we dream of. The thing is, at that time of the year, you have very few fauna. Polar bears are harder to see, because generally they're much more north on the ice cap, on the ice sheet, and they are harder to observe. The birds colony are not there yet, because they arrived mid-June, end of June. And so there is fauna, there is whales, there is walrus, seals, but not that much. When you go there in July, it's something else, really a lot of fauna. So but the landscape at that moment of the year, end of March, April, is beautiful, because you have sunset that's that are spending a lot of time, hours of sunset or hours of sundown. It's a beautiful moment. A lot of ice fjord like that. It's really a beautiful landscape. So then we are in July or August. Then you can see that the whole Svalbard is quite free of ice now, and we can go north to make the whole turn of the Svalbard. We can go to the northeast island, but also in the middle of it, between Spitsbergen and northeast island. This is the Hinlopen Strait, and there is a beautiful place over there named Alkefilet. It's a cliff of 10,000 of birds over there. It's a beautiful place. So in mid-July, August, it's totally open, and we can explore different regions of this place. That's why most of our trip in Svalbard in the beginning of the season, let's say in June, from April to June, we do short trips of 7 to 8 days, because generally we focus more on the west and a little bit on north of the Spitsbergen coast. But from end June and until the end of July, we are beginning to do the whole turn of the Svalbard. So in July, that's the kind of landscape that you will be able to see, but also a lot of ice, obviously, because like I said, in the northeast island, you have a lot of ice over there, and it's a beautiful place. I will show you a picture of it just after that. But before, let's talk a little bit about Greenland. So Greenland is a big island with a huge ice cap, because in average, it's 2,000 meters thick. So it's really huge. That's also one of the reasons why there is so big iceberg over there. And this is the chart again in March. So like you see here, all the East Coast is totally closed. That's why we cannot go in March. We cannot go in April, but you see in July, it begins to be a little bit open, but not yet. The Skorisbisen, it's written on the east side of East Greenland, just north of Iceland. There is a lot of ice even in July. We cannot access everywhere. It's quite close. That's why we go only from the really end of July, but mostly beginning of August, because then the ice sheet, the ice pack is going north, retract, and then we access to the Northeast National Park of Greenland. And this place is really, really beautiful because there you have huge iceberg, big mountain, and I will show you some picture, but it's a really beautiful place. For the West Coast, you see that in March, we cannot see really well in this ice chart. I'm sorry about that, but we can see that in March it's quite close, but even from July, it's quite open. That's why we have some trip over there much sooner than for the East Coast. So how we explore this region? We have three ships actually that go over there. The Explorer is one of them, is a 12-passenger ship. So like I said, we share the same philosophy. We only travel with small ships. Our ships are between 12 to 75 passengers. And this ship here is the Explorer, Westland Explorer. That is a 12-passenger ship. It's a beautiful yacht with a big saloon, a lot of window, and that allow us to really enjoy this place, to enjoy the landscape, the scenery that is all around us. And our guides are there to give some conference, to talk to you about what we have seen during the day and what we are discovering in these regions. A lot of space is also in the exterior of the ship that allow you to work all around the ship. It's a really nice thing, because when we have whales around the ships, that allow us to go one way or the other to follow the whale. And it's something that happens quite often actually in Spitsbergen or even in Greenland. We have also big cabin from 14 to 70 square meters with big windows or big portholes. And these cabins are really nice. This ship was a ship that was working in East Greenland during the 90s and early 2000. And it has been refitted in 2020, 2021 to be a yacht. And that's why it's all brand new. Then we have the Ocean Nova. The Ocean Nova is our ship of 75 passengers. In this ship, generally, you have 7 or 8 guides, or polar guides. And it's a really nice ship because it's, well, it was a ship that was used in West Greenland to link the different villages for the people. And it has been refitted to be a cruise ship. But the ship is quite comfortable, but also all the crew is really, really nice, really good team. And it's a ship that we really like to use in this polar region because it can go everywhere. And like I said, the crew is amazing. So all around the ship, you have place to walk and to enjoy the scenery that you have around you. And also in some place, you have big windows. For example, if I go back, what you see, you have the bridge in front of the ship, and then just behind the yellow antenna, you have this big place with a lot of window. That is the saloon where we have the bar, and also this is the place where we do the conferences. So during the cruises, or the moment of navigation, this is the place we spend more time to take a coffee, to take a drink, but also this is the place we have the lecture of our guides. It's a beautiful place, really nice place to observe the scenery outside, and that's really interesting. We have also a library and like other place in the ship with big window to really enjoy the place. Like you can see let's say that the ship is not brand new. It's quite comfortable. The decoration, it's not really modern, but it's really a nice ship and with a really good crew. And you spend a really good time on this ship. So this is the saloon with the big window that I was talking about. It's really nice ship. Another picture of the cabin. So let's talk about the big differences of what we see in Greenland and Svalbard. So Svalbard, this is the land of the polar bear. This is the kingdom of the polar bear. Because if I go a little bit back, when I show you the ice charts of the Svalbard, so in the early season, in March, all the ice pack is around the Svalbard. And when it retracts, polar bear stays in Svalbard. Around 500 to 100 polar bear stay on the archipelago, and that's why it's quite easy to observe polar bear in Svalbard. Also, one of the big reason, it's because it has been protected since 1973. So they are not afraid of human. They are really protected in the world. This is the place actually where they are safer in the world because they are still hunted, sadly, in Russia and also in North Canada and also in Greenland. So in Svalbard, it's probably the best place to observe polar bear in their natural environment. We can also observe walrus, but also a lot of seals. Well, there is a lot of Arctic species, but mammals on the land will be polar bears, reindeer, fox, Arctic fox. That's mainly, and we have also a lot of animals from the water. Sorry for my English again, but we have whales, humpback or boreal or rorqual, but also walrus, seals, and a lot of animals that we can observe. Also, a lot of birds, mostly during the summer time, like I said, because the bird colony are there from mid-June and June until August. And we can observe skua, stern, Arctic stern, petrels, ivory gull, that is one of the most emblematic bird of the Arctic region. Generally, when we see an Arctic gull, an ivory gull, it can give us some chance to observe a polar bear because they follow the tracks of a polar bear because they eat the rest of what the polar bear is eating. And that's the kind of scenery you can observe in Svalbard. So these peaks and this glacier, and we are with our zodiacs, we will approach this scenery and make the best of what the nature can offer us. And in this place, they offer us a lot of things, really a lot of animals, a lot of fauna, and beautiful scenery, beautiful places. that's the kind again of place you can see. This is the glacier of Smeerenburg that is in northwest Spitsbergen. It's an amazing glacier, beautiful place. And like I said again, small. There is iceberg also, but they are much smaller than in Greenland. But even though some are quite big, and it's really a polar place, so it's beautiful to discover. And also in this polar region, we almost always do a nice sheet landing when the weather allows, because sometimes if the weather is foggy, we cannot go because of polar bears. So that's also a big difference from the Antarctica. Also, we generally don't spend too many time on land because of the polar bear. We don't want to cross the road of polar bear when we are on land, when are ashore. But when we are on the Zodiac, sometimes we can approach them to 50 meters, something like that. That really depends also of the behavior of the polar bear. So now about Greenland, there is also polar bear, obviously, because we are in the Arctic and this is the region of the polar bear. But like I said, they are still hunted over there. So they are quite afraid of the human. So generally, when we have the opportunity to have an observation, they may be afraid of us, and so we don't try to approach them. But sometimes we have good opportunity, and it's already happened that we have good observation of polar bears over there. There is also Arctic fox. This is a blue fox. It's quite rare in Spitsbergen, but in Greenland, we can observe more often. We call blue Arctic because with the light of the sun, we see some blue reflects on the fur of the Arctic fox, but it's quite broad, like you see. And the particularity of this Arctic fox is that the color of its fur don't change between winter and the summer. For a normal Arctic fox, let's say, during the winter, it has totally white fur, and during the summer, quite gray brown fur. There is also musk ox. It's unique in Greenland, so this is something that we observe quite often over there also. Hooded seal, it's also a species that we almost only observe in Greenland. It's a species that is quite easy. It's never easy to observe a fauna anywhere in the world because we are not in the zoo, obviously. But generally, we have a very good spotter with binocular, and we succeed to see most of it during our trips. But mostly when we go to Greenland, we are there mostly to observe this nature, this big iceberg, huge glacier, and huge mountains. These villages with this view. And what is quite interesting also in Greenland, that is not the case in Spitsbergen, it allows us to have some encounters with the local population and to share some moment with them. And it's always a great moment to share with them because we understand a little bit more of their life because they are living in such remote place. You have to imagine it's the biggest island in the world and only 40,000 people living there. It's really amazing. And this is the kind of scenery. In this picture, it's hard to have an idea of the size of the icebergs that you can see in the picture because the mountains are so high, around 3,000 meters, but these icebergs are 40, 50, maybe 60 meters high, really big icebergs. And again, these small villages. In the East Coast, you have Itokotormit, where we go almost every time. It's only 300 people. And in the West Coast, we have quite a lot of trips that goes from Ilulissat I will just go back a little bit. That is up, you have Nuuk. I don't know if you see my mouse, but in the southwest, you have Nuuk. It's bold over there. And if you go more north, you have Ilulissat, and then we go until Cranach. That is all in northwest with Ellesmere Island in Canada. So this is again the kind of scenery in Subfjorden when the icebergs are so big. that they are anchored on the ground of the fjord in the ice, so in the water. So when we are in the zodiac, we are going to approach them, and it's really building all around us. Again, the ocean nova around this big iceberg. Obviously, it's not the iceberg. It's the photo that makes the impression that the ocean nova is at the same place, but obviously we don't cross an iceberg like that. We don't go beneath it. Some information about how we work on our ships. It's an expedition cruise, so I think we work quite the same way everywhere in the world. But you have your expedition leader that is here to organize a trip day by day, depending on the weather. It's something that is really important in Spitsbergen, really depending on the weather and the ice charts and the opportunities that the nature offers us. The expedition leader will change the program quite often to offer to our passenger the best trip possible. We have our polar guides also that are here to share their knowledge, their passion of this region, to share their knowledge about polar bears, about seals, about the ice. Our aim is really that our passenger come back from these trips with a lot of beautiful, amazing memories, but also with a better knowledge of the place that they just visited. They are also there to guarantee your safety. Like I said, it's something quite particular because when we are going on the ground, on shore, you will see the polar guide with rifle. It's something that we are obligated to have. And when we go on shore, it's a whole protocol to secure the area and not to have an encounter with the polar bear. We never have any problem with polar bear, but if a polar bear is spotted when we are on shore, we immediately goes back to the Zodiac and go back to the ship. We never try to approach a polar bear when we are on shore. Each time we have a really huge protocol to each landing we do. But if you have any question about that, after that we can discuss it with pleasure. So a typical day in an expedition cruise in Greenland or in Spitsbergen, generally we try to have at least two excursions per day, one during the morning and one during the afternoon. Obviously, that also depends on the weather. If it's foggy, sometimes we cannot go out. It's quite rare, but then we postpone the excursion and we try to do something else. We have a lecture or something else, but we have maybe another excursion at night, because like in Antarctica during the summer there is no night. When it's noon or when it's midnight, it is 3 p.m. For us. So yes, we take the Zodiac and we go to really approach the scenery, and each time we are trying really, like I said before, to enjoy the most in the better way possible to really enjoy what the nature can offer us to observe. So we do this excursion during the morning, and then we have the lunch. We eat very well in our ships. That's always important to have good meals in the ships because we are traveling. Because even for the explorer, it was important to have a good meal. And during the navigation, we can enjoy a coffee or tea or something else, and then we go back. It's really important to understand also that in this region, like I said, our ships offer us the flexibility to really enjoy the nature. So if during the navigation, for example, our guides see a polar bear with a binocular, the expedition leader will make a call, and then we'll put the Zodiac on the water and try to have a good observation. So we try to go near to the polar bear and enjoy it. So sometimes it can be observation like that. So we are around 50 meters. Depending on the behavior of the polar bear, generally they are quite indifferent. They don't care about us. So we can just follow us a little bit and enjoy the observation. Obviously, if the polar bear is disturbed, we don't approach him. It's not our aim to disturb the polar bear or the fauna in any way, or the wildlife. So we always spend a lot of time, or we analyze. That's part of our job. We analyze the behavior of the fauna, the polar bear in wildlife, And we only make this kind of observation if it is possible. Generally, like I said, in Svalbard, it's quite often we can have this kind of observation. And then we will make the best of it. We'll go to the glacier, make some slalom or to approach icebergs. And sometimes we have some seals on a little piece of ice. And then we go back to the ship. And at that moment, our guide will make a small recap to talk about what we have seen during the day, to really make the best of what really to have the knowledge and the passion of it, like I said before. A little word about our zodiacs. Zodiacs are our best tool. They allow us to go out, to approach the wildlife, to go on shore, to go on the ice. They are quite rough, they are quite tough, and really stable. So our guides are the pilots of these zodiacs, and they are also, during this tour in the zodiacs, are explaining to you what you are seeing, what you have in front of you. And like I said, we use it every day to a lot of different activities, and it's a really nice tool. Also allow us to go more, like I show you with the polar bear, to approach the wildlife. So I think I've painted a rough draft of what we can see in this region. There is a lot of say. I could spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to talking about Spitsbergen or Svalbard. Each region is really amazing to discover, with really different landscape, different fauna, and I would obviously advise you to discover both. But let's say for first discover, maybe Svalbard, if it's the fauna that you're looking for, could be better for the polar bears. So if you have any question,
yeah, we have a question from someone actually, Matthew. Do you have how many zodiacs are on the Ocean Nova, for example, and the other ships? Is it 1 per 10 people, or how does that work with yourselves?
Well, in the Explorer, that is a 12-passenger ship, we have 2 zodiacs. So that depends of the activity. If we are going in Zodiac cruise, because Zodiac cruise can we can spend 2, maybe 3 hours sometime in Zodiac cruise. So we use 2 zodiacs. When we go on shore, we use only 1 because we are doing shuttle or we are just going to the shore, so it's quite short. On the Ocean Nova, that's 75 passengers, we have 8 zodiacs. Generally, we use 8 of it when we are going on Zodiac cruise, but the same thing when we are going on the shore or we're doing a landing, then we only use half, but we are doing a shuttle.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was
another question. You know how you have a very small 12-passenger ship?
Sorry?
The smaller 12-passenger ship, is that available for charter if you have like a family or a group of people that wants to just have it for themselves?
Yeah, it's possible. It happened quite a lot nowadays, actually. We have charter from partners, obviously, but also some family. It happens.
Yeah,
the ship is quite full, unfortunately, but
yeah, that's right. And you've got your itineraries out for next year already for us to book and everything. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Can I just confirm, you being a French company, your lectures and your Zodiac's drivers and everybody speaks English as well?
Yeah, for the trips that we'll have in English speaking, obviously we'll have the polar guide speaking in English.
Okay.
We try to don't mix the languages in our trips.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
thank you so much. I think we are gonna.
Oh, just one more question. Sorry. We have do you have
No
2025 available yet?
Itineraries.
Not yet. They will arrive quite soon, by the end of the year. At the moment, we're working on it. We are planning a lot of new trips in Greenland again, because it's a region that is developing quite fast, and we are aiming to offer new trips over there. Just an information about weather that I didn't speak about. The temperature, generally in the summer, we have around 6 degrees in July, August. So it's quite comfortable.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's really great. Thank you for staying awake for us as well.
No problem.
And yeah, we're we're available for everybody. If you have any questions on the emails, just send them to our main email address.
And this webinar is being recorded, so we'll be able to send it out as a link for anybody that wants to have a look at it later or hasn't been able to join today.
So okay, well, thank you again, everybody, for joining. We do have another webinar next week on the Canadian Arctic, so if anybody is interested in that one, we'll venturing up that way. Somebody will see you next week. But thank you again, Matu.
Thank you very much.
Merci.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Bye.